Welcome to the It Takes Two podcast, a safe space where we have discussions around breaking gender barriers, appreciating gender equity, and accelerating gender equality. Over time, females have come up to hold discussions around gender equality, and men have not come out as often as women have such discussions. So today we are going to have a discussion around gender equality, but from the man's lens. And before we dive into the conversation, I want to appreciate our partners who are making these conversations possible. That's Aga Khan Foundation and Global Affairs Canada. So today we are discussing gender equality from the man's lens, and that describes the structure of my panel. And I want to introduce my panel to you, starting from my left. Introduce yourself to our audience and...
Hello everyone. My name is Cyrus Lukongwa and I work with Public Health Ambassadors Uganda as a monitoring and evaluation officer. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you. I hope we shall have a very fruitful discussion on gender from the men's lens. Thank you.
Hello viewers, Mugira Abdul Hakim is my name. I am the Executive Secretary for Gender, Community Services and Production, KCCA Makindye Division, and I am in charge of the departments that fall in gender and the others in community services and production. I am glad to be here. I'm glad to be hosted right about today so that I can share in my views how I perceive things and what is right in my own perception. And I give a vote of thanks to our partners for this initiative.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Khan. I am joining here from the Aga Khan Foundation East Africa. I am a regional civil society coordinator with the AJAX project, who are partners with FAO, with the Public Health Ambassador of Uganda. And I'm really excited to see what this conversation holds, because I believe this is a very important conversation, and particularly if we want to make any advancements on gender equality, we need to be successfully engaging men and boys in holding those conversations. So glad to be part of it.
Thank you so much, my dearest panelists. So as we dive into the conversation, I want each of my panelists to tell me what they understand by the term gender equality. When someone talks about gender equality, what comes to their mind? So I think I should start with Mr. Khan.
Sure. For me, I think gender equality is a vision that men and women should be treated equally in social, economic, and cultural perspectives. And everyone has a right to not be discriminated against based on their gender. And ultimately, it's about advancing dignity and respect and equality for everyone in our society. It makes our society a better place, and it ensures that everyone has equal opportunities.
Okay, equal opportunities, equality in terms of economic, social. Mr. Lukongwa, Cyrus.
Thank you very much. So it's not different from Muhammad's. Gender equality is about, equal access to social, economic opportunities, even health opportunities. So it's about the equality for all, both men and female, bringing, that balance, for both a male and then a female. So this equality can help us or help both genders to have equal access to the different opportunities around health, around their financial status, around their social well-being, and anything related to that, including education. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. Mr. Mugira, what's your view?
To me, gender equality is a state. Gender equality is a state. It is a state whereby access of all opportunities, all issues within our communities, all rights, that access for all the opportunities and rights is not affected by any issues concerning gender. That is to me what I understand by gender equality. And in that same perception, I see an issue of fairness, an issue of equity, because I am one of the few that believe we should be tailoring around equity so that we see the end result of gender equality. Because if there is fairness, equity, give what everyone deserves, then we can achieve gender equality.
Okay, okay. So you've heard what the men think gender equality is. So we all come from different societies. We all come from different areas, but in those societies in which we live, those communities in which we live, we know there are things we've grown up seeing. And in the African society, we've seen patriarchy taking lead, and it is people have written a lot about patriarchy as an influencing pillar to hindering advancements towards gender equality. So before we dive into gender equality, we want to first understand what patriarchy is. Mr. Mugera, what's your understanding of patriarchy?
Patriarchy, to me, it is a vice. To me, it is a vice. And what do we see in patriarchy? It is simply male dominancy. Male dominancy. But you know, a former student of Makerere and a graduate in social development. And as a scholar and a practitioner of social development, when we were in Makerere, there are some things that we were used at. I used to determine them as battles of supremacy, whereby our halls of residency, Nkuruma, Micho, come out and fight to see who is supreme. But my question that always triggered around, after the battles of supremacy, what do you gain after being accorded to be the supreme? What do you gain in battles of supremacy? So that is something that I allude to when it comes to patriarchy. This dominancy, male dominancy, what do we gain from it? What is its impact to the society? Is it bad if we have a society where both men and women are equal? We've seen patriarchal acts, for example, in our families, girls being told they should not go to school, boys should go to school, girls should do housework, the women should do housework, the men are the head of families, the men are the breadwinners, women are the consumers. So at the end of it all, when we try to level up those differences in our communities, in our societies, in our schools, in all our sectors of environment, what do we gain from them? There is something that that normally transpires, that what a man can do, a woman can do. So what is the relevancy of patriarchy? Yet if there is shared responsibility, we can all see success in all that we are trying to endeavor about. So patriarchy, to me, is really a vice that we should fight and see it come to an end.
Okay, vice, supremacy. Mr. Khan, Mr. Mugera has pictured or has stated that patriarchy is a vice. To you, what's your understanding of patriarchy?
A system of social order. Is a system of social structure and practices in which men dominate, oppress, and exploit women and their labor. So I agree with my fellow panelist by saying that ultimately men also don't really benefit from patriarchy, but when we look at the economic aspect of patriarchy, men do benefit, right? Most of the jobs are by men. Most of the money is controlled by men. Most of the land here in Uganda and other parts of the world is owned and controlled by men. When you have simple issues such as inheritance, a woman are denied their inheritance. So ultimately, that is the benefit that patriarchy does to men, and it is why that men are not incentivized to stand up against patriarchy, because it benefits them a lot. Men are ultimately in patriarchy, men are constructed as superior to women as a group, and as such also have authority over them, like whether that's cultural authority, whether that's familial authority. There's a lot of, and that creates a control over women, and there is a lot of benefits, particularly at a structural level to men.
Okay, you've talked about cultural, economic benefits for men. So, Mr. Lukongwa, what are some of those structures? What are some of those things that are still keeping patriarchy relevant, or that still embrace patriarchy, that bring patriarchy to still exist in our societies? What are those structures that are grooming patriarchy to continue in society?
Thank you. So there are very many variables that we can look at in terms of influencing patriarchy. And I think I'm a Muganda by tribe, but I also think that our cultures are playing a very big role in terms of, this male dominance in our cultures. You realize that in Buganda, it is believed, and it happens, that inheritance is done mostly by men or boys, which of course limits the chances of females being empowered economically, because the inheritance is more of property. But also, I think the communities where we stay, there are a lot of gender norms that are really attached to the societies where we live. And besides culture, I feel like even religion is contributing, because the religious leaders are also have a background of culture. You know, they come from different clans, different cultures. So when they integrate that into their religions and try to disseminate this information, to concretize the information, I think it also influences this level of patriarchy in our communities. I've also a feeling that like Muhammad was saying, that it mostly benefits men. Yes, it benefits men in most cases, and realize that if it is about property inheritance, girl child will be left behind, because they feel like their property is on the side of their husbands, so they're not supposed to inherit any property from their families, from their dads. Yeah, and I think it is a culture, and it is a norm that we should try to advocate, such that to try to sensitize the community about it, to let them know that, let's be equal as males and females. Let's be equal, because we should have an equal ground, a level ground for both males and females, such that we are able to, compete effectively. I don't feel it's nice for me to be outstanding in a competition. The competition has to be healthy, such that everyone has a level ground to base on, such that we, both can have achievements celebrated from the equal ground.
From the equal grounds. Mr. Mugera, you kept nodding. Is there something you want to add on to what?
You see, for me personally, they're talking about patriarchy and culture. But I have a notion that culture has to be dynamic. Culture isn't something that is supposed to be static in nature. When you talk about inheritance, it is not a must that it is only the men that are supposed to inherit. It is not anywhere in the culture because when it comes to inheritance, they talk about inheriting responsibility. Then the properties. For example, we've had the Succession Act in our country, Uganda, as a guiding tool. It stipulates how these things should be shared. So it is not a must that when a man inherits, that is when a family will move forward. Or when a woman inherits, that's not when the family will move forward. There has to be equality in everything. That is why I want to say it loud in my own perception that patriarchy is a vice, it is a disease that benefits only one gender and compromises the other gender. Yet this is not something that we should look at or witness or look on as it is going on in our communities. It is something that we should fight because it is an endanger to our community.
Okay, it's the men speaking, I'm quiet, I'm not saying anything. You know, people usually say, yes, it's the women, they want to take power, they also want to be in charge. It's the men talking about patriarchy, not I.